We're going to wrap up this afternoon and the entire conference with having a conversation about what change looks like, what new generation looks like, a particular version of what that may be. And I believe we have some really wonderful, poignant, powerful commentary from the people to whom we have to create space for. The people to whom we say we are committed for leadership development. We have to make room and make time and make space for that leadership to shine and for it to thrive and for it to allow our work and our movement to evolve into what its next phase should be or could be. So with that, I'd like to introduce Hugo Rios. Hugo is from Fresno with, Hugo, say your name and your agency coming in. Resource Center for Survivors of Sexual Assault and Family Violence. And so with that,
I'd like to thank everyone here that's remained with us and hasn't left yet. And those that did leave, I hope they make it home safely. Let me introduce myself in case you don't know me. My name is Hugo Rios, and I'm the Education Coordinator for Resource Center for Survivors of Sexual Assault and Family Violence, formerly known as Ray Counseling Services. And me, being a young, I still consider myself young Latino male in this movement, the way I got into this field is a big story. It's too long to even tell. But I fell in this position, and I feel I fell in this position for a reason. This is something that I wanted to do. It was a passion of mine. And it's something that helps me with my upbringing, my challenges, what I went through, my pain, stuff that sometimes you hide and you try to ignore. And this field has let me release myself and become who I am and give back. That's the one thing. I get the opportunity to give back to 100 Hugos. Someone that's just like me. Someone that's hiding the same story. Someone that feels like I'm the only one. Well, you're not the only one. And before I leave today, I want to acknowledge everyone here from CALCASA for the wonderful work. Applaud them for what they do and to keep doing what they do. All the ladies here, thank you for your hard work. I want to shout out, if I could have all the guys stand up. There's not a lot of us. We can all stand up. Right now there's just a couple of us. But I hope through the years our numbers start doubling. Because this is not only a women's issue, it's a men's issue. And this is something that I'm very proud of. I'm proud of what I've become, but I'm still pushing myself to become a better person to myself, to my son, to my family, to my agency, and to what I believe in. Sometimes, I've always asked myself, why am I here? Why did I fall to this position? And sometimes you gotta just stop asking yourself and start doing it, which you're supposed to do. And right now I'm pretty speechless. Usually I'm very good at just speaking from the heart, but the challenges that I faced as a male in this field have sometimes made me doubt if I wanted to stay in this field. Because my own kind, even my own family have challenged me. Like, what are you doing in that field? Why do you work there? Why do you talk about sexual assault? Why do you talk about domestic violence? Why are you so against it? And sometimes I doubt myself, but then I tell myself it's another challenge. As a male, it's another challenge. Either I'm gonna step out or I'm gonna stay in what I believe. And this is a passion, and I believe the passion that I have in this movement is because of my mother. My mother's pain is my energy, it's my desire, it's my passion to move forward. And without a woman, she's the strongest person I know. She's the most beautiful person I know. And without her, I don't think I be able to come up here and do what I do, go to my classes, speak to my young men, you know, go home and cry because I had a hard day, but guess what? Tomorrow I'm going to wake up, I'm going to call mom, she's going to make it all better, she's going to have coffee, she's going to have tortillas. And I'm ready to go. But most of all, I want to tell everyone thank you. And I'm going to practice. This is a little exercise that I started doing with my young men, and I'm going to have everyone here do it, and I hope you can help me, so if everyone could stand up. And on the count of 3, I want you to yell your name as loud as you can. You're going to yell your name. 1, 2, 3.
No!
Okay. That name we just shouted out, be proud. Be proud of that name. Never, ever doubt yourself, love yourself, respect yourself, and be proud of where you're at today. With that, I thank you, and I wish you the best.
Think about where we've been, and now we have a glimpse of where we're headed. We're headed for 100 Hugos. Without fear, we're headed towards 100 Hugos, and that is wrapped up with passion. We're headed towards more forward progress, and hopefully we'll be headed towards some coffee and more tortillas too. So to continue this discussion around from where we've been to where we're headed, I'd like to invite birthday girl. Yesterday was Ashleigh Klein's birthday, and she's going to give us a spin on what our future can look like. And with that, I'd like to invite Ashleigh Klein up from the YWCA, Twinkle Toes, the YWCA of Greater Los Angeles.
First of all, thank you all so much for giving me the best birthday I've ever had. And what happened last night on the dance floor was Revolution Girl Style now. So thank you for those of you who are out there shaking your booties with me. But I'd really like to start off by kind of positioning myself as a product of this movement. I turned 30 yesterday, so the movement was already around for a decade when I was born. And that's me as a baby. And I really think that because of this movement, I was able to have a more positive childhood and teenage years. And the reason I say that is because one of my earliest memories is waiting up for my mom late at night. She would leave for a couple hours. I didn't know where she was. And as I got older, I came to find out that she is a survivor of child sexual abuse. And where she was at her AMAC support groups. And the local rape crisis center had adults molested children support groups, and that's where she was. And because of that, my mom was able to heal. She was able to break the cycle of violence, of sexual violence that was in our family. And she was also able to empower me, teach me things about our movement and our work. And she was also really able to kind of step in when she saw indicators of child sexual abuse among some of the people I grew up with. And so I like to consider my mom an OGD. Anyone guess what that stands for? Original Green Daughter. She was really creating green dots before it was a prevention strategy. And I think that's amazing. So how I came to this work really reminds me of what's going on right now with the organizing of slut walks. And I know that there's so many things that we could say about slut walk, but I like to think of it in my head as, you know, the women sitting in that workshop or presentation in Toronto, listening to the police officer talk about, you know, make the suggestion that if you just didn't dress like sluts, rape wouldn't happen. And I feel like if I were there, I would have thought to myself, did that dude just call us sluts? Like, hell no. And then there's an action. And so to me, that's what slut walk is. It's an evolution of our movement. And it reminds me of a movement, a sub-movement that I was very much a part of as a teenager, known as Riot Girl. Any Riot Girls out here? No? Come on. Give me some. So so Riot Girl is really about music and art, but it was also about politics and activism and feminism. And so I remember as a teenager making like these really do-it-yourself zines about sexual violence and about eating disorders and about homophobia, and training them with girls all over the country, and really feeling like we could start a revolution. Like we had the power to do that. And I feel that that has really carried me through into this work and in what I want to accomplish in our movement. And so one of the biggest challenges I've had in this work is going from an agency that was very grassroots oriented. All of our staff was under the age of 40. The Sexual Assault Crisis Agency, also known as SACA. And really there I felt like I was like a riot girl that just won the lottery. Because I got to be an activist, I got to do what I wanted, but at the same time I was getting paid for it. And at SACA there were things that, you know, at Cal State Long Beach, one of the fraternities has a party every year known as the Cherry Bust. And one of kind of the unspoken goals of the Cherry Bust is how many freshman girls living in the dorms can you get drunk and have sex with? And we know what that is. And so at SACA, when we learned about the Cherry Bust, not only did we infiltrate the Cherry Bust, but we also made flyers that talked about consent and the definition of sexual violence and put our hotline number on them. And we snuck into the dorms and we put them under all of the doors, and we put them on all of the cars in the parking lots. And that was activism, and that stemmed from my upbringing and Riot Girl movement, and it's something that our movement allowed us to do. I also, yeah. When Sarah Palin was on the ticket, when she was running for vice president, and so many people were saying that women will vote for her because she's a woman. Thought it was a good idea to make a giant vagina out of a piece of cardboard, and take it to a protest. And if I had been charging for taking pictures of myself, I would have made a lot of money. And so sometimes the activism that we want to do and that we need to do, we can't do in the confines of our agencies. But I really think that it's important to still do those things in our personal lives, outside of, you know, our funding requirements and our objectives and all of those things, really to keep hold of why we're here and to keep that activist spirit alive. And so unfortunately, SACA closed a couple years ago, and I'm so lucky to still be in this movement, but it's been very different going from a very much grassroots organization to one that's kind of the opposite of that. And so one of the things that I've decided to do is to go back to school and get my master's in public policy and administration. And the reason for that is because I don't want to see another agency close. I want to have those leadership skills. I want to know what a budget is. And so that's kind of where I'm headed in the future. I'm also getting married in 24 days. And the reason why I'm teaching that is because I met my partner in the movement. And so I feel like this movement has given me so much, and I want to continue giving back to it. When I think about where the movement's headed, there's so many places, and I think that throughout the last couple of days, we've gotten so much information about where it's going, and it's not always clear, and it's not always something that we're comfortable with. And for me to try to articulate where I think it's going is difficult. So I put together, with the help of my coworker, Jennifer Gonzalez, a very short video montage kind of asking activists in our local community where they think the movement's headed. And most of them are not in rape crisis centers, which I think is a very important thing that we need to keep thinking about, is that while sometimes our work can feel lonely, we're not alone. There are so many social movements going on that are related to our work that the people are not involved in rape crisis agencies, but they're still committed to the same things that we are. Slut Walk being one of them, Holla Back being another one. And all people that are working on social justice work, we can really find those similarities and ways to collaborate with them. So I'm going to play the video.
I'm Jacob. I'm 20 from the California Conference of Equality and Justice.
I'm Desiree Defard. I'm 24 and I'm part of SoCal Hollaback.
Maria, I'm 30 years old and I am involved with on-campus groups at Cal State Long Beach like GONFEM and WGSSSA, the Women Gender Sexuality Studies Student Association.
Hi, I'm Giovanna Martinez. I'm 30 years old and I'm the Youth Services Coordinator for Women's Shelter of Long Beach.
Hi, my name is Jerica Martin. I am 25 years old and I work at the YWCA Greater Los Angeles Sexual Assault Crisis Services.
I'm Jennifer Gonzalez. I'm also 25 years old and I am an outreach specialist here at the YWCA Greater Los Angeles Sexual Assault Crisis Services.
And I'm Edwin Alexis Gomez, and I'm a youth advocate at Women's Shelter of Long Beach.
What I could say to the women who started the rape crisis movement is thank you. And if it weren't for you and for the support system that you've started to create, then we wouldn't have so much room to move forward as a queer feminist living today.
I would say wow. I would say wow and stand back in awe that they had just, you know, the guts to come out and start this movement.
I would like to say thank you first and foremost, and thank you for so many things. Thank you for giving me a place here. I feel like all the work that you did pretty much made it possible for me to be here and do what I love to do.
First, I would like to thank them for finally giving survivors a voice, because I'm not really sure what they did before that and who they were talking to or how they were dealing with what they've been through. So I think that that is really inspirational. And the women who started this, I think they also really inspire me for what I want to do, how I want to do outreach in my community. And as a future feminist therapist, I really see what they did as very inspirational for what I want to do in the future.
I would like to thank them for paving the way for women to be able to use their voices to unearth all the violence that's been going on behind closed doors, and you know, since the 50s, and it, you know, domestic violence and sexual assault were not talked about, and rape is a forbidden word. So I just like to thank them for bringing that out in the open and making people know that it is an issue, and it's a serious one at that.
I'm here. I would say I'm here to get the baton and to keep going as far as possible.
I would say thank you, because I can't imagine what it would be like to not have a rape movement. It's affected my sexual assault has affected my life so much, and so many of the people around me. I imagine most of the people around me, and I'm not ready, like, personally, to do this, like, to really go into that work. It's too painful for me right now, but it is good to see that there are so many centers now where I could go get help when I'm ready. I wish there were more, but there are centers out there and there are people out there working on these issues, and there's literature on it. You know, it's not like some mysterious force in the universe and something that I did or something that's wrong with me. It's something that happens in the world, and it happens to lots of people. So thank you for doing that work and continuing to do that work.
Where I see the movement going is, you know, youth programs, peer counseling. I also see linking up with healthy sexuality, teaching it in all of the comprehensive sexual education that we receive. One piece that's always missing is consent.
I feel like the world's becoming flat again. I would say that efforts that are going on in Africa and in Latin America and in Asia are now able to connect with things happening in Europe and in just the Americas in general. And I think that that's such a beautiful dialogue that can occur, and all these prevention efforts and all these services that we're providing, we can now see what's really working and what's not working.
I see more of more groups working together from women, men, queer, feminists, all coming together to sort of talk out the issues that divide us and work together to solve not only the issue of rape, but also the issues that surround that, and racism and sexism and classism.
I would like to see a clearer, stronger alliance with the pro-choice movement and the rape movement, because I think the two are really intertwined.
For me, it would be a blending of everything, just bringing in the sexual assault movement, the domestic violence movement, and having a blending of just a huge, I don't want to say sisterhood, because I think anyone can work this, movement. I think anybody can contribute. A gathering of everybody.
Being immersed in social media in the future, especially with youth and the way that young people are so involved with technology and social websites, social media websites, and they have video games, they're all on their iPods and their new smartphones. So I think that that's a really good way to connect with youth.
I also feel like, the women involved in anti-rape are also very, pro-consensual sex. These aren't women who don't like sex. In fact, we enjoy sex a lot and enjoy sex positive.
And it's not just a women's issue, it's an LGBTQ issue, it's a youth issue, it's an elder abuse issue, it happens anywhere. So I think just a blending and seeing this future of everyone working together.
More men involved in the movement, because men need to tell other men how to change or how not to do violence. And women just can't do this on their own, and women can't be expected to do this on their own, because this is a movement that affects everyone.
And thank you, CALCASA, for wanting to hear my voice. And thank you all for being here, and I hope that you continue the revolution at your agency. And I hope to see you 20 years from now. So thank you again.
Thank you for giving us a gift for your birthday. It's one of the great things we can do as we give in when we celebrate our own existence. And I think that's some of where we're headed, where the demand or the clarion call asks us to be okay about passing the baton. Be okay with it. Trust that things will be okay. Sometimes passing the baton to men, so having more men, more like 1,000 Hugos. More alliances. We need to understand that rape crisis centers took up the charge and forged the pathway and the methods in which we deal with both the intervention and prevention of sexual violence, which is connected to child sexual abuse and incest and harassment and a number of different ways in which it manifests itself. But we realize that now we're not the only ones that are doing it. And so it's really important that we recognize all the tangential ways in which it is being taken up by other organizations or bodies or entities. And so creating more strategic alliances is something that we can be proud of, because we cannot do this work alone. And as the one woman on the video said, men need to tell other men how to not be violent. I thought that was very interesting. Being clear that men are not the only ones who have the capacity for violence, who act out violently. We all have the capacity for it. Just recognizing our own power, how we all have power, and how we recognize how we use it, how we dispatch it, how we acknowledge, and how we acknowledge other people's power.